one of the things I love about working with Lloyd is I can say things like, "Oh, I think Evelyn Nesbit needs to look like Nicole Kidman's character from Moulin Rouge, but still kind of period and maybe pinker, and but also it's a small venue, so we can't do too crazy." And then you built, did not buy, he built um, can you? So most of the costumes for that show you pulled or had people bring in, or you shopped. But what was the process of building that gorgeous thing that Andy got to wear?
I had a vision in my mind of what I wanted that piece to look like for that production. And so I thought, how can I accomplish this, first off, in the time frame that we've got? And second, how can I also, make it look like the vision that we're going for? And so I had this really fun pink silk kimono that I had built previously for a fashion show that I had worked on. And it kind of went with the theme that we were going for there. And then we had this little corset piece and a pair of like little pink ruffled shorts that were, quick and easy to throw together. So those ones ended up being the base of the costume with the robe over it. And I think it really brought that character to, the next level. Because it also stood out a lot, I think, from the rest of the show, where you had, a lot of like muted colors. Because, looking at the time period and like who the characters were, there were very few, I would say, flamboyant characters in the show that really needed like that bright color. And so it was nice because, you would see her up on stage and she stood out. And that was, I think the point of the character of Evelyn Nesbit was, she's a showgirl, she's a star. And so really, having a costume that helped reflect that in the show.
And does it ever not go quite according to plan?
Because it's such a tight turnaround, even sometimes we'll have a vision for a costume and, in my head, it'll work great, it'll be fun. But then when it gets up on stage and the actor has to go through the actual like steps and go through the motions with it, we're like, oh yeah, that doesn't work like in reality. Like if they're standing perfectly still with their arms at their sides, it would be a perfect costume. But, the other thing you have to think about is, in a live production, can they do what they need to on stage? And I've seen that in so many shows I've worked on, from, hats and headwear all the way through to like suits and coats where, if the suit is too tight fit, they can't do the dance moves. And, we have to think like, if they're going to be tap dancing, can they do that? If they're shaking their head, does the hat stay on the head? And yeah, so definitely there are a lot of things that factor into costume design outside of just, does it look great and does it suit the character, but also like practicality wise, does it work with the choreography? Does it work with the lighting? And I think like all the elements of theater have to mesh together when you're putting a show like that together. Because otherwise, if the costumes look great but they don't work with anything else, the whole show doesn't feel cohesive.